I'm being told to my face that's not mold, and I'm like, all right, let's take samples and bring it to a lab. And I get challenged, and I'm like, I don't know why. Like, do realtors really want to put families' health at risk by telling them that's not mold? Wait, are you? When is it actually starting? Right?
It already did.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, kid. Welcome everybody back to another episode of the Handsome Homebuyer Podcast. My name is Charles, aka the Handsome Homebuyer. I'm here with Mike Totino.
Thank you for having me.
Undercover player, businessman, home inspection guru to the stars. I love you, dude. I have a lot of respect for you.
Thank you. It means a lot coming from you, my friend.
We're not going to only talk about girls. Don't worry. We're going to talk about business. We're going to talk about your coming up. Because you and I kind of started at the same time.
Yeah? No way. Wait.
Sort of.
Okay.
Yeah, you've been in the game. How long have you been in the game for?
I've been in the real estate industry for 10 years now.
Yeah.
But the inspection world, probably 4 and change.
Really? It feels like longer.
Give or take. Maybe 5 now. Maybe.
So I have to congratulate you. You recently hit a milestone. 1,000 home inspections.
Yes.
Very exciting.
And I remember hitting...
That's a metric shit ton of home inspections, dude.
It is. And I remember hitting 100 home inspections. And you were at my dinner along with a couple other my very good friends. And yeah, not too long later, my company reached over 1,000.
So talk about that, right? Because you had a crazy... You've been on the podcast before years ago. We were in the other office, and I had a beard. And you had a wild scenario as a kid.
Yeah.
You went through a lot of shit. You came from, nobody gave you shit.
Yeah.
You basically, you built everything on your own.
And I realized looking back now, like I was so young around that time when things were happening, I didn't realize that wasn't normal. That's why I never felt bad for myself, because I felt like that was my norm. And I didn't know that that wasn't like kids shouldn't be, having to do the things I did to make ends meet at the time.
Well, I guess when you think about it, if all you know is something, it is normal, right? If you live, regardless of, there's people that you hear stories about people living in, horrible situations of abuse or whatever it is. But for them, it's normal because that's all they know.
That's all they know.
Right? It's not till you get out into the world and you see how other people live that you realize, like, wow, that's different.
And a lot of things are privileges. A lot of regular things that people is their norm. For me, that's like a huge privilege,
So obviously you're best known for your work ethic, the home inspection business. You transformed recently from the original name
yes.
to Hyperfocus.
Yes.
What was the why did that happen?
I feel like Hyperfocus, it's not just a name, it's a brand, it's a lifestyle. Hyperfocus is what has helped me reach many milestones, being hyper-focused, focusing on your goals, getting to it every single day. And but not only that, I made the mistake of attaching my name too much to my original company name, which was Safety First Home Inspections. And everyone wanted Mike. Mm-hmm. If Mike's not available, then everyone loses a fit, right? So I had to change the name to brand the team now. So luckily, I'm still battling that transition, which is like a year later, but it's a good problem to have at the end of the day.
So talk about the scaling of the business. So now it's not just you, because that's the thing I think a lot of people don't realize, which you were smart enough to realize, is that so being a home inspector could be a great career, but you're limited to how many you could do a day based on how many hours there are of sunlight, right?
Yes, and if I can give a tip to my business owners, this is the most valuable thing I've learned. As your business is growing, you know this too, get out of the way. Your business cannot operate just off of your cell phone, your availability. We're doing a podcast right now, right? That doesn't mean our business is stopped. There has to be some type of way to schedule a home inspection, in my case, to reach out to you, to sell their house, right? So get out of the way, have systems in place, have a team in place.
So what does the team look like now? And how does it go from you out there doing home inspections to...
I'm actually hiring again right now because I'm now licensed to do mold assessments as well. I've been finding mold in so many houses. I figured, you know what? Why not add that service to my clients so they don't have to scramble and try to find someone else to do the mold assessment, delay the transaction. You know how it is. Mm-hmm. So since I'm already there, I'm licensed to take samples now. So I obviously can't do both. So I need to basically replace myself. Once again, good problem to have. The only problem is that the hiring process, especially in the home inspection industry, it's such a dragged out process. Like it takes months of shadowing me in the field, writing reports, how to communicate with clients, not being an alarmist. Like it's a whole process that takes months,
So talk about that, right? So talk about the transition from you being a sole, owner operator to where you are now. How many guys you have working for you? How did you start that? How do you train them? Like, how does the whole machine?
Yeah.
How can you sit here on a podcast or go to where's your last exotic vacation where you just up and left?
So
like Tibet or something.
No. So a couple months ago, I visited my family in Puerto Rico. I go there every winter, and then I'm actually leaving again in a couple weeks.
Do you speak Spanish?
I understand a lot more than I can speak.
Okay.
But I have multiple family members that are bilingual. But in a couple weeks, I'm backpacking through Europe again.
Jesus.
I did it last year too. This time I'm only doing like 2.5 weeks.
But that's still, so 2.5 weeks, you're gone. You're backpacking.
Gone. Yeah.
You're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, but that's what I did last year. Last year I was in the Swiss Alps in Switzerland in the middle of nowhere in mountains.
And
like,
your business ran.
My business was booming back. Yeah. Last year I was boarding flights as my Venmo was going, my Zelle was getting, because people were booking us online and it was just going. And I was thinking like, I got to scale this model. I like this. So
Basically, so you made as you're hiking through the Swiss Alps, you're making money.
Yeah.
Guys are going home inspections. They're writing reports. Money's coming in.
And I'm not saying this in a like, oh, I'm traveling and making passive income. No, I built this from the ground up. Like I spent a lot of years sacrificing, working 16-hour days, canceling plans, birthdays to accommodate realtors. But that's what got me in the door with so many realtors, because I was at the drop of a dime and I made it happen, Any business owner, you have to, especially in your early years, you have to sacrifice.
Shirtless gym pics don't hurt either, bro.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, you do. They're all over your Instagram.
No, on Facebook, not on Instagram. Facebook. I want to motivate people. Motivate people to get in shape and take accountability,
Talk about the automation process of the business, because I'm curious to know about it.
So there's a software called Spector. My other home inspectors know about this.
Well, let's go back for a second. Come back.
Sure.
What was the moment you were like,
when I was in Europe last year?
I can't do this shit.
This happened. So last year when I was backpacking through Europe, I'll never forget this. I was in Paris under the Eiffel Tower. I'll never forget. In Europe, they're 6 hours ahead of us. So it's midnight. I'm under the Eiffel Tower, and I had a receptionist at the time, and the receptionist, for whatever reason, wasn't answering the phone. And I had realtors contacting me, Mike, I'm trying to schedule. I can't get a hold of this and that. And I'm like, all right, when I get back home, I'm going to automate it to a website with a link to schedule. And I just automated that whole system.
So basically, somebody gets an accepted offer on the house.
Book online.
The realtor says, go and book it online.
Correct. Yep.
Smart. What's hyperhomeinspections.com?
Hyperfocusedhomeinspections.com. And the same thing for a mold assessment. It's hyperfocusedmoldassessments.com. Just so they're not waiting for me. And this goes back to when I first started. I'm literally walking on roofs, checking my schedule, answering my phone. I'm in a crawl space, telling a client, I'm available tomorrow at 2:00. That's not the way to run your business.
Hyper-focused
home inspections.
Oh, with an S.
Mm-hmm. It's legit.
I'm trying to, God damn it on this phone. Let's see.
All you have to do is type in your name,
schedule now.
There you go. Your name, your email, property address. Done.
Shit.
Yep.
Select service.
Yep.
Residential home inspection, multifamily home inspection, mold inspection, commercial inspection, co-op inspection.
Yep, we do it all. And then you could check our availability too, like on the calendar.
Wow.
And once it gets scheduled, they get an email with the confirmation, and it's a video of myself explaining the process, because you got to add that human touch. You got to show someone that there's an actual human, behind the system. So they get a video saying, congratulations, this is what to expect, XYZ.
This is great.
Yeah. It took me a while to do all that. Don't get me wrong. Like, I went through like an AI rabbit hole for like a month and change, just reading articles and how to do all this stuff. But now like it's,
So ultimately, how did you put all that together?
so the software helped me out too, because they provide the software for the report writing and the website as well. But I had to film my own content and all that stuff. And
Okay.
yeah,
So you meet people, you say, listen, book through the website.
did the
And
website.
then does that connects through a CRM? Like, how does it all come together?
So once they send in the request, I get a text message. You got a request for this time, this day, this time, this address. And then
Got it.
I approve everything because I don't want it automated because as you can imagine, our schedules change very rapid.
Yep.
So I get it. And if the time and date works, then I approve it. That's when they get the automated email and video and everything. Payment link, Zelle, Venmo.
Okay. Then what? It gets put onto your calendar?
It gets put onto my calendar and it also syncs to the software to write the reports.
Got it.
And then I show up and it's already on the app, on the house.
Ready to go.
Yeah, ready to go.
So, but now it's not just you anymore. You have people working for you.
Correct. Yeah.
So how does that all work?
It's the same exact process, except when I get the request, if I'm personally not available, like for example, my guy's in the field as we speak right now because I'm not available, but I'll get the same request and then I'll just text, my inspectors, say, hey, are you free this day, this time? They say yes. Then I confirm it. Same thing. The client gets the email. That's it.
So how does it at the beginning when people are like, I want Mike, I want Mike, I want
Oh
Mike?
my God. So as I was saying before, I was literally answering my phone, like walking on a roof, like, hey, I'm free. Hold on a second. And then I check my calendar. And then after the inspection, I have to go home, go on my laptop and manually type in their name, their emails. And I'm like, why am I working this way? And then I realized, it goes back to get out of the way as your business is growing, have systems in place, because I'm sure you can agree too. Our time is much better spent than doing admin work, sending emails and calendar stuff, it doesn't.
So do you still write the reports?
Absolutely. The inspections I'm on,
Yeah.
of course, but now if someone else is in the field, I proofread everything. And if there's any revisions, then I email my inspector and then he'll go over it. I review everything, every single report.
So I guess let's talk about some of the growing pains associated with this, because
Many.
that shit had to be hard.
Yeah.
Training people, getting the
Yes.
right people,
Yes.
then firing people because some people weren't the right people.
Yeah. I've went through at least 3 receptionists already. But then that's when I
Are
just...
they virtual or they're like real
They're
people
virtu-
here?
No,
Real-
yeah. Actually, one was a local realtor here.
Okay.
But what I've learned too, and I hate to say it because of AI, but you can't. Your business cannot. The growth of your business cannot rely on a person that you're hiring. And no offense to VAs and assistants, but I just feel like no one's going to treat it like you would, obviously. But if you have systems in place, like my website, it's 24/7, 365.
Yeah.
If you're up at 2 a.m., you could schedule online. Of course, I have to accept it once I wake up. But the thing with people, they quit. They don't feel like working. They have attitude. You know how it is. They just...
Yeah.
And now you're dealing with personality on top of that. And now, when I had my receptionist, I realized my job now is to make sure they're doing their job.
Yep.
So I'm adding work. If anything, I'm adding more stress to me, making sure you're doing your job.
So what, you got rid of the receptionist in favor of this
Completely.
online platform?
Yes, and then with the business line, when you press 1, it's like automation as well. You press 1 and you get the link sent, the website link texted automatically. But if you still need to speak to a human, you press 2 and it gets forwarded to my cell phone.
Got it. Very
So-
smart.
I'm trying, yeah. I'm just trying to make it efficient where everything just doesn't rely on me anymore.
So how many home inspectors do you have actively working for you now?
Right now I have 1, but like I said, I'm looking to hire another one.
So how does that work? Do these guys only get work for you? Do they freelance for all different home inspection companies? How does that work?
For the most part, I'm providing all of the inspections. However, if an inspection comes from them, then I give them a bonus. Like there's always an incentive because
Yeah.
I don't expect people to have an incentive to grow my business if they're not compensated for it. So I don't believe in shorting people to.
So you're still actively in the field doing home
Yeah.
inspections.
Mhm. I actually like doing it, and I feel like I found my niche. Which I'm very grateful for.
I remember because I remember when I first met you and you
I
were
was
like
wholesaling.
you were wholesaling
Yeah.
and then you were doing like, you were a contractor
Yes.
and it was just, you were trying to kind of find your
100%.
real niche.
Yeah.
And you're like, I think I'm going to do home inspections. And I'm like, all right, cool, do it. And then that was like, that was your thing.
And the funny thing too is that a buddy of mine was doing it part-time. And at that time I was dealing with just contracting headaches, just dealing with crews. You know how just there's so many moving parts in construction, it gets draining. And mind you have to deal with this every single day. And then my buddy told me about home inspections and I thought about it. I thought, all right, I have experience as a real estate investor. I have experience in construction, and I feel like I'm good networking and marketing and just being myself. It kind of already aligned with what I already know. So then, like you said, the minute I decided, all right, I'm going to get licensed, I was like, there's no backup. This has to work. There's no backup plan. And just my work ethic was just like, this shit has to work. And that's just, that mind frame was the best thing that's ever happened. Like, it works wonders.
Yeah, and listen, you did a really good job of networking to build your business. Very similar to just innately you kind of did what I did, which was what millions of people have done, which is you're a very likable guy.
Thank you.
You worked very hard. You went out to every single social event, right? Realtors are obviously the ones that are sending you business. So what do? You make friends with all the realtors. There, we're good. You make friends with all the realtors. You have dinners.
Yeah.
You have events. You do a lot of charity work. And that's ultimately what brings in the business.
Now, another part of growing pains, which I want to touch on, because that all sounds great. And I feel like you and I have went through very similar growing pains. You've probably dealt with it 10 times more than I have. But growing pains too is that as your business grows, as you're getting more recognition, it's more difficult to be a people pleaser because now you're meeting more people, you're doing more business, and eventually people start having opinions about you and this and that. And I've just reached a point where I just don't care anymore. I used to,
Yeah, we got a video coming out this week or next week where people just bash me.
Oh, really?
20, yeah, for a good
Like realtors or just
30 minutes, huh? 12 to
15 minutes of bashing?
Yeah, that's just the
Who are
comments
they,
that-
though?
No, just random people on social media. So it's like you
Trolling.
post on social media,
Yeah.
and there's people on social media just
Always.
like bashing you.
Yeah.
So the guys put together a bunch of like 12 minutes worth of clips that's
Compilation.
just basically
Yeah.
handsome bashing.
Yeah. I mean, when I first heard that I killed the deal, I had an anxiety attack. Charles, heart was pounding out of my chest. I
Well,
was
that's
like,
the home inspector stereotype, right?
I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna get, my name's gonna be tarnished, ruined. I'm gonna get canceled, never gonna get hired again. And then I realized, I'm like, my job is to literally find defects in a house. It's not up to me to decide whether it's, if the buyer's gonna move forward or not. And that's just a title that comes with being a home inspector.
I mean, yeah, and it's not that easy for you either because there's a fine line. You don't want to be an alarmist and you don't want to
Correct.
kill a deal, but at the same time, you don't need people suing you or saying that you did a shitty job either.
Never.
So it's like you're trying to please a whole group of people and all of their interests are not exactly aligned.
Correct. Especially with mold. Once I got licensed in mold, oh my God, I'm being told to my face that's not mold, and I'm like, all right, let's take samples and bring it to a lab. And I get challenged, and I'm like, I don't know why. Like, do realtors really want to put families' health at risk by telling them that's not mold? I don't get it. So that's something that I'm going to be as vocal about as possible. And if I get blacklisted for being ethical, once again, I really don't care.
Yeah, it's because you have the seller of the home who just isn't happy you're in there because they just want to get it done.
No.
You have the buyer who's like, if you're dealing, I'm sure you deal with a lot of first-time home buyers. They're very nervous. They don't understand the process, right? And then you have the realtors who just want the deal to close.
I did an inspection a couple months ago, and there was mold throughout the entire crawl space, mold throughout the entire attic. It was me and just the buyer's agent and listing agent there. I told the listing agent, and I showed him on my phone. I said, listen, the attic, there's black mold throughout. You can't miss it. He goes, no problem. I'll have the seller have it taken care of. I said, just so you know, so there's no surprises, I'm recommending that my client gets proof it was done by a licensed mold contractor. And I repeated myself, Charles. I said, not a contractor, a licensed mold remediation contractor. He goes, no problem. About a month or two later, my client, who's a first-time home buyer, I think she's a single mother too, calls me up after she moved in. She goes, Mike, my house smells like mold. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. It was all over the report, and long story short, she got a BS invoice. They remediated the mold. She brought me back there, dude. There was mold. They did nothing basically. So that experience is what I don't want for anyone. So when people hear me talk about mold and this and that, and I'm pushing to get it done the right way, I'm not trying to kill a deal. I think of her every time. I think of the poor woman who moved in and now had to pay for the remediation out of her own pocket now. And this is her first house. And people don't realize that,
Yeah, listen, and mold causes a lot of problems.
It does.
A lot of health risks, a lot of weird
Yes.
things that happen to people. And mold is...
I'm not the bad guy, people. I'm just trying to protect. If you were buying a house and there was mold, I would protect you just as much. So I'm just a messenger.
Scott's vibing with you right now.
Yeah.
We have black mold in our basement.
Yeah?
They never told us about it. We've been living there for years.
Yep.
No, you could have all kinds of health problems and be
Yeah.
like, what the hell's going on? And then you find that it's mold, like
Yep.
mold and ventilation systems.
100%.
It,
Yep.
it really messes people up.
Yep.
So, I mean, listen, plus it makes sense for you, right? Like for you to be able to be certified doing mold, you do termite?
You don't have to be certified to inspect termites, but I include that in my inspection report, like
Got
a
it.
termite report. But I don't treat, like termite damage, obviously.
So I think the hardest part of scaling any business is finding the right people.
100%.
So, what did you go through to find like the right home inspectors and train them and not lose them and everything else? And then of course, all of a sudden, like you're funneling all the business and then then they think they could just go do it on their own, which they
That
can't,
happened to me.
which they can't.
That happened to me.
Yeah, did it? I'm sure it did.
So that happened to me where one of my inspectors branched out and started his own business. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, it's fine. Like it set me back, obviously. But when things like that happen, I have to I have to humble myself and say, Mike, you're not the exception. This happens to everyone. So don't think that it'll never happen to you, So I'm sure it's happened to you, every business owner, someone branches out and, does their own thing. So it definitely happened to me before.
Yeah, because a lot of times people think it's easy.
Yeah.
They don't realize.
Yep.
So is that guy even doing any home inspections still, or he's done?
I mean, I keep the door open with him, it's no bad blood. Like I see him at the events now too. And, yeah, I like keeping the door open because there are times I need help. Like if I'm inspecting like a mansion, right? There's 6 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, and my other guy's booked out. I'll still reach out to my previous inspector and say, hey, do you want to join me on this house? So I'm not there for 4 hours, by myself. So I think we still help each other.
You're a lot nicer of a guy than I am.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wish someone, like ill will, it's just. But there are people in the industry, I will say on air, I don't like. So I don't care either. Like,
I mean, listen, you can't. Not everybody likes everybody, but just as long as you respect each other,
yeah,
and you can work together. But I mean, I've recommended you to a lot of people
I really appreciate that.
over
Yeah.
the years. You do a great job.
Thank you.
You're very thorough.
Thank you.
So what's the next stage of this? Like, are you thinking I'm just going to continue to grow and scale this? I want to franchise this. There are obviously different inspection franchises.
Yeah, so
around the country.
I definitely want to scale again. I definitely because I don't really have a name, I guess, like in the boroughs. Like that's a whole different market that I haven't even really tapped into. I'm in the boroughs every now and then, but I just feel like I haven't really.
It's wild in the boroughs, man.
It really
Everything is
though.
wild in the
It really
boroughs.
is, yeah.
We're doing some deals in the boroughs right now,
Yeah.
and it is just
Yeah.
a brain damage. It
Yeah.
is very, very hard to get anything done. And I mean, I don't know on the service side, but on the acquisition side, it's not easy.
I think maybe I should rephrase that. I want to get someone to handle the borough, like who's already out there that, to kind of be an extension of myself in the boroughs.
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, what you are and what you should continue to be is a brilliant marketer
Yeah.
who essentially brings opportunities in.
Yes.
And then you have home inspectors that are out there
Yeah.
doing their thing. And there's a lot of guys and girls out there that want to be home inspectors or are home inspectors and they can't get the business. And they would just be happy to be, that have a schedule that says, put me to work.
Yeah, and the guy I have now, I mean, he's great because he already has an overnight job, so he's available literally all day, Monday through Friday. So it's like he gets booked out all the time, which is great. I would like to have someone else like that as well, who's reliable and just like you said, they already have their full-time career and all they want is just to be sent out. They do the inspection, they get paid, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know. And then I mean, when it comes to like mold assessments, I would like to start doing commercial buildings, which as of last month I hit another, I guess, a small milestone. I did a mold assessment for a hospital, so that was my first commercial assessment.
How did you get the job?
Actually, oh my God, it was actually from the client I just told you about who had mold throughout and got screwed. She felt like I was the only person that did right by her. And as you know, you do right by people, that word spreads. So she works in a hospital, and the hospital had mold. And she's like, I just had this guy over here last month, and that's how it panned out.
Talk about your
It's all word of mouth.
Talk about your content journey, because you were one of the guys that like really took that shit seriously.
Yeah, of course.
So like from the jump, like, you started working with Matt R Visual.
Yes.
You started putting content out, because there's not a lot of, I don't know of any other home inspectors personally that really do a lot of content
You're the 100th person who's told me, like maybe even more. Like everyone tells me that, and and the funny thing is that like I'm really just being myself on camera. Like those crazy content videos I've done or things I've posted. That's just me. Those ideas come from me just driving, listening to music, zoning out, and I'm just like, that would be a funny idea. And then sure enough, I hire the videographer, and then I make it a reality.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I feel like you have to have attention in whatever industry you're in. If I posted pictures, and home inspectors, I see this all the time. They're posting pictures of a boiler, and they're writing paragraphs about the valves and the pipes, and I'm like, that's boring shit. Like no one cares about that. Or like they're like posting graphs of a smoke detector or an outlet. You think someone scrolling is gonna sit there and like read the chart about? They don't care about that stuff. You got to make it fun and entertaining.
No, it makes perfect sense.
For me, that's what's worked, at least. You know,
No, it makes sense.
shock value.
Yeah, I mean, listen, on social media in general, people want to be entertained, but it's interesting that you are really the only person on Long Island that I've seen
That's
in
funny.
the home inspection space that has realized the power of social media and what it can do.
And that for me creates a whole separate lane, because and I encourage people to if you want to take a page out of my book, by all means, but that's what really separates you, honestly.
Yeah, because listen, you have to understand, if someone's a realtor, realtors are on their phone all day, obviously.
Yeah.
They're on social media all day. They're there, they're putting in an offer, they get the accepted offer. 2 minutes before that, 2 minutes after that, they're on their phone. Who's the home inspector? Oh,
Yeah.
and there you are.
Yeah.
Hyper-focused home inspection.
Yeah.
Boom. Let's call Mike. Let's get it done.
You know how many times realtors have DM me like, Mike, when we show up at the inspection, don't let the buyer know this is our first time actually meeting in person. I'm like, I got you, don't worry, because they're hiring me from my post, my content, and it's not all just home inspection. So I show my personal lifestyle, because I want to attract like-minded people outside of just work. Work is not my life,
No, it makes sense. And listen, it's working.
Yeah.
And I think you can attest to that, right? Like I'm not going to say what percentage of the business per se, but once you started doing the content, what impact did that have on your business?
A lot. And I feel like it's always the funny stuff that, like, you had posted like a Chinese food, like a Chinese restaurant review once, or
Handsome Eats.
you did one video in particular that like blew up, I think, right? It
was a Chinese
a
restaurant. Yeah. The restaurant reviews do really well, yeah.
It was a random piece of content that you probably didn't think anything of it, and like it just completely
Blew up.
exploded. Yeah. So one of the pieces of content that I shot was about 2 years ago, where the dude with the sign who holds up the yeah. So I put parents are not home inspectors.
Yeah, that was great. I saw that.
Dude, the broke agent reshared it, and it went nationwide, bro. And like, there's Facebook pages that reposted. And then the most recent one I did, with Catherine, the shock value.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Your proposal. Congratulations, sir.
For the announcement of our event, June 27th. Yes.
What's the event? Tell everybody about it.
So June 27th, the event's called Let's Get Social. We actually do it every year. It's to raise awareness for domestic violence. And on a serious note, every time I'm promoting this and I'm inviting realtors personally, at least 10 of them each year, they share that they've been a victim at some point in time.
That's fucking wild.
And 10, I mean, that's one is enough, obviously, but like it's like 10 to 12 realtors that that have been through it.
That's wild. And those are the people that are coming out and admitting it.
Some aren't even
I
saying
can't
anything.
even imagine how many people are not saying it.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and then, just there's been people who have been affected by it. And this was something I wasn't even mindful of until I met Catherine. And, she kind of brought this to my attention. So I was behind her, and she has my full support.
Well, I will be there. It's always a good time. There's always a great group of people there. It's a
Yeah.
lot of fun. You do a great job at every event that you throw because you usually do about 2 a year.
Yeah.
You always do this one, but then you always do something else in
Yeah,
general.
yeah.
But you're very smart, man. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
I've known you for a while. I've
Yeah.
seen you, rise through the ranks and really build a business, unlike any other home inspector I've seen. So really, again, kudos to you. You do an amazing job. That's why I refer you exclusively
Thank you.
whenever I can. So anybody out there, obviously, who's looking for a home inspector, or any agent out there who wants to come to the event, because everybody should be at the event, tell them about the event date and then give your information so they can get in touch with you.
June 27th is going to be at the Piermont in Babylon. You could follow me on Instagram, on YouTube. Usually Instagram's probably the best platform, but my handle is at Hyperfocused Home Inspections. And YouTube, it's the same. My Facebook page is the same, Facebook/Hyperfocused Home Inspections. And
All right. Obviously, I'm a
grateful
handsome
as
home
always.
buyer. You give a house that smells like cat pee, dated from the 1960s. I want to buy it.
there you go.
516-777 sold. That's a wrap. All right.